If you look online, you can see that the trunk closer unit for the 56 Caddy is like $800+ and sometimes even more expensive. Now, I've researched it, and you have to do a little bit of body work and a lot of fabbing in order to fit the trunk closer in. I don't really feel like doing that, and I really don't want to spend $800 for a little machine that closes my trunk the last 2 inches. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do without it, but I need to get this to work. So what this is a little light that goes on your dash that says, hey, your trunk is open. Trunk ajar light, I guess you could call it. It's powered by that mechanism that closes it. So I'm going to have to get a little bit creative on how I get this to light up when the trunk gets open. I think I can do it with this hood ajar switch from a Corvette. We will have to see. But I think we can do it, because the way it's going to work is I'm going to mount this in the trunk somehow, and then when the trunk is closed, it will break the circuit just like that. When the trunk is open, it will complete the circuit. So what I need to do first is I need to get this light bulb, test it, and make sure this works, and then we can use some of this extra wire that I have in order to make a little mock wiring diagram, I guess, of what I plan on doing, and then go from there. And hopefully it works. The 1956 Cadillac experts will notice that this bulb, or this housing, isn't correct for the 56, but what's important is this end is. All you're going to see is this, so what's behind it doesn't really matter too much. So the first thing we need to do is test and make sure it works. So I have my power supply hooked up. We're going to make the circuit with ground, and yes, it does light up. Obviously the ground will be better when I put it together, but it does light up and the bulb does work. So now we can create a mini wiring diagram of what I plan on doing in the car. Hope you guys can see what I'm doing. So here's the light, and I'm going to turn my power on so you see the circuit will complete. So the way that it's going to work is this plunger will be attached like this, and when the trunk is shut, it will turn the light off. And when it opens, it will turn the light on. Now, the only issue I think I'm going to have is the location of this plunger and where it needs to go. Other than that, it should work. I don't see why it wouldn't. That's what this switch is for. This switch is to keep interior lights on and the alarm on a car. So it will do the same for this. So you push it down, it closes, take the trunk up, it turns on. You guys saw in the last clip that my dash light does work. So now it's time to install it and wire it all up. So here is a wiring diagram I got offline from the guys that sell the stupid, expensive trunk motors. Let me put it over here so you can see it better. So basically, this is the way the circuit works. So you have your power in from your main power, which also runs your power windows. It's hot all the time, no matter what. Then you have a jumper that runs to a second circuit breaker, which then runs both the trunk motor and the glove box button, which goes to the solenoid in the trunk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this trunk motor and put a little switch. And how it's going to work is I'm going to, from the second circuit breaker, I got to run a wire all the way back to the trunk, to the switch, and then from the other side of that switch all the way back to the dash where the light is. And then from there, we'll do another splice, and we'll take the power from this circuit breaker over to the glove box button, which I bought, and then we will take from there over down to the solenoid in the trunk. So it's a lot of, 23 feet 9 inch long wire, 23 foot 9 inch long wire. It's a lot of that. But when I'm done with it, it should look good. First, I have to go see if I have a stock circuit breaker that I can use. Let's make our way to the sad remains of what's left of this Cadillac. Basically, it's just a roof, front fenders, and a firewall left. Everything else is pretty much gone. But what I want to see, which I'm pretty sure we still have, is this breaker in the same spot on this one as it is on mine. And boom, there you go. There it is. So we'll take that one, and you guys can't see it. We'll take that one, and then we will wire it up to mine, make sure it's good, and we'll go from there. Should be awesome. Since we have the stock circuit breaker, I can wire, at least run the wires from here. I'm going to put the second circuit breaker probably in the second bar right here. We can run there, and then we can start running wires to the back of the car and all that kind of stuff. Eventually I will drill a hole in the dash. We'll get to that when we get to that. But I have to take off these sill panels and run wires all the way to the trunk. I plan on just running everything together. There should be what looks like 3 wires that run from the front to the back to make this work. According to the diagram, we have power jumping from one breaker to the next, and then we have a splice. So this is what I've done. I used the old wire out of the Cadillac to do that jump. You can see that right there. So one breaker is up top and jumps down to the second one, and then this one will come out and it will splice off into 2 colors, blue and brown. Now it's supposed to be black, green, and brown, but I don't have enough black to make 23 feet 9 inches, so this one will end up being blue because I have a lot of blue, and then this one that jumps over to the glove box will end up being brown, and then this one will probably be yellow, and then this one dark blue. We'll see. But the point is, I'm making this splice right here so that power goes to both the glove box switch and the light switch in the back. And I don't need a really thick gauge wire because I'm not running a trunk motor, it's just a light bulb, so it really shouldn't be that difficult. In order to get to the trunk, the wire has to travel down a channel under the carpet, has to go through this half, cut off B pillar right here. It comes underneath here, pulled out the seat, had to snake it up behind the back of the seat, up over the hump for the wheel well, and then it's going to snake all the way back here, follow the factory routing, and then it's going to go all the way to here. Here's the switch that I have. I plan on just mounting it right here. That way it's minimal, it doesn't really hurt anything, and it will easily work. So that's the plan. The only thing I'm worried about is getting in this trunk and shutting it and make sure it fits. But I'm looking at this, it should contact right here. It'll be just fine. Yes, eventually I will replace the inner liners, the pieces that go along the outside edges, and then the mats on the bottom. I just haven't got around to it. Plus they're kind of expensive. Alright, the next part is the nerve-wracking part. It's basically the only part that I can not reverse if I do it. This dash is metal and it's one piece. And what I have to do, I have to drill a hole right about here for this little light to go. If you look on my phone, let's see if this shows up. There's a guy I know that has a 56. His name is Jose. He has the automatic trunk, and that's where his light is located, and we will put mine as close to that as we can. I'm pretty sure these were self-drilled by people in the factory. I don't think any kind of machine did it, so there's probably a little bit of variation on, where the light goes. But that's the correct place, is going to be right there. So, oh, this is so nerve-wracking, but it's going to be worth it, I promise. Well, here's the hole. I'm so bummed about this, but whatever. The whole dash needs paint anyway. It'll match the keyhole, but I put another scratch in it. But anyway, let's put this in and see what it looks like. Alright, after a lot of fumbling around, there it is. I had to drill it out just a little bit more, but it's as close as I think I could have gotten to the factory location. We can pull up my text message and see how well I did. What do you guys think? Not too bad, huh? Huh? So now it's time to test it, see if it works. So here's the back of the light. It basically grounds to the dash, but this will be plugged into the end of this blue wire, which is coming from the switch. And right now the trunk is open, so it should turn on when I connect the battery again. Walk around here, and oh, looky there. See it? It's on. Looks good. Let's see, ground to my trunk switch. Trunk switch is looking good. This is going to be hard to do with one hand. you go. What do you think? It's now time to install the popper that goes inside the glove box. You know what? I never would have noticed this if I hadn't been doing this, but there's a recess in the glove box door just for that button. So I did not want to spend the $150 to get an original button, so I spent $10 on this button and then this bracket I made myself. So basically, here's a picture of what the original one's supposed to look like. And mine, more or less, will look just like this. That's how it's gonna look. So I have to drill some holes up in the top, up on that ledge right there, and then I can mount my bracket and then run my wires, and it just plugs power into one side, and then that one will be run back to the solenoid, and that's pretty much it. From what I can tell, I think I'm good. Since it has this cutout, there's a little extra space for the button in there. You know, it looks pretty good. You know, from far away you'd think it's just either factory or something added on, period. But I mean, the only way to really tell is to wire it up, and then if you shut the glove box, hopefully your trunk doesn't pop too. But I mean, if worse comes to worse, I might be able to move it back just a tad, but as of right now, I think you have to push it in at least that far to get it to work anyway, so hopefully it won't be too bad. Now all we gotta do now is wire it up and see how it goes. So I've made a couple changes to the Cadillac, pretty much the wiring that I've done. So I realized once I looked at the video feed that this is a 40 amp breaker. That's a little big, and so what I ended up doing was I had this extra little breaker pouch. You guys probably can't see that very well, but it takes the little slot style, you know, 15 amp breakers. So I installed that, and that should work really well. Next is going to be this trunk switch. So if you look at these style switches, the problem with them is the whole bracket and the top of the switch become hot when you hook 12 volts to it. And so, as you can see, one of them decided they wanted to melt on me. So I went ahead and I spent, you know, $10 total on this switch. So this is a dome light switch from a Ford Mustang, late 60s, something like that. And it does exactly what it's supposed to do. So when the trunk is up, you will see that my little red light on there is lit. The trunk is down, you'll see that that light turns off. Now the only thing I wish that would happen is when I pop the trunk with the button inside the glove box like this, I wish it would pop up enough that this jewel would light up, but it doesn't. There might be some kind of adjustment that I can do with the springs on the inside, I don't know, to get it to actually do like it's supposed to. Maybe if I move it down just a tad, it will do it. But what I don't want is I don't want to be driving around and have it adjusted in a way where the trunk will move just a tiny bit, and then the light will flicker on and off. So as of right now, I'm good with that. The trunk popper works, and the light on the dash works, and we're one step closer to having more options on this Cadillac. Since this is a Cadillac video, and I know the guys that watch the Cadillac video like Cold War Motors, so I want to give a shout out to Cold War Motors. They sent me some awesome stickers for their YouTube channel. If you haven't watched any of their videos, go watch them. They have videos just like mine, basically working on a bunch of old cars. So they like mostly the 50s stuff, hence the name Cold War Motors. But yeah, I got that on my compressor and it looks awesome. Thanks guys for that.